Soramid na miyang ramid na jengyare. Soramid na miyang sikpamba yakalang. Koro kobe na say labi. Koro kobe na kamale. Idiara kobe na jarama. Koro kobe na kamale. Greetings, everyone, and welcome. I am Baba the Storyteller, Long Beach's resident griot. Bienvenidos a todos. Soy Baba, el narrador. Viajo por todo el mundo compartiendo mis cuentos, la música de mi gente, la cultura y mucho más. I travel all over the world, sharing the history of my people, African Americans, culture, music, and teaching so much more. But my home is here in Long Beach. Yo vivo aquí in Long Beach. I've been serving the city of Long Beach for more than 30 years. And what I want to announce to you is that I am going to be Master of Ceremonies for the Aquarium of the Pacific's virtual African American Festival. Yes, I'm actually honored. I've been working with the Aquarium for over 19 years, since the very first festival. In fact, I helped them organize the very first festival. So it's more than an honor to be able to host the virtual festival with them. But I tell you what, I have a lot I want to share, but before I do, let me finish this song, and then we'll get to what I came to share with you. Yama, 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 bimbe don't na yama lakono, yama taduna fengono, bimbe don't na yama lakono, yama taduna fengono, yama, yama, yama. Yama, yama, yama. Welcome, everyone, and once again, greetings. I am your Long Beach resident griot or storyteller, Baba the Storyteller. That little bit of music I was playing, that song is over 800 years old. It dates back to the 13th century. Yes, it's called Sunjata. Now, I would spend a lot more time telling you about it, but honestly, being the storyteller that I am, I could talk your ear off about the history and the culture of our people. But what I want to do today is I want to celebrate with Downtown Long Beach Alliance, Black businesses here in our city. I'm so proud to be a resident here in Long Beach. Yes, I travel globally, I tour, I work all over the world, but this is my home. This is where I live. So when I come back here, I want to honor those who have worked hard and sustained the lineage and our heritage and our culture, specifically those who run and own Black businesses. So what I want to do at this point is just have a little fun. I want to enjoy us a little bit here. And I tell you what, because I'm a storyteller, maybe I could just share a story with you. Maybe I could share a little music with you. Would that be okay? Let's do that. Nyate jalia nyakale di bi jalia te korobo kajali ke ninke jali ke vadi orana ye yo kala ambia sinana ambia sinana ambia sinana kumbemba jali mosaning jale kelu ambia sinana bula bula julula ivola bula kora jaluma Ambiasinana, kumbemba, jeli, musa ninja lekelu. Ambiasinana. Going back in time, way before Once Upon a Time, actually more than a long time ago, there was a small town where there was a man who lived there he was known for not being quite so smart. In fact, they called him the Foolish One. Yeah, Jalia, aleleka Jaliada, alaunga mansiada, alenata banayada. Yeah, well, the Foolish One lived a very lonely life in this town because, well, no one ever wanted to be seen with him. Because everyone understands, one of my favorite proverbs in Spanish. Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Basically, tell me with whom you walk and I'll tell you who you are. So the friend of a fool is only another... Okay, y'all get where I'm going. Ambiasinana, aukumbemba jeli musaninja lekelu. Ambiasinana. Well, one day, there was a knock at the door. And the man opened the door, and, well, this was a neighbor to the fool. They had never spoken. But when he opened the door, he saw the Foolish One standing on his doorstep. And this disturbed him because no one wants to be seen with a fool, right? So he said, "What do you want? Why are you here? Why? We've never spoken before." And the Foolish One says, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've come because I am in need." And the man, wanting to rush the Foolish One off of his porch, said, "Well, what are you in need of? What do you want?" Ambiasinana, kumbemba jeli musaninja lekelu. Ambiasinana, bula bula julula, ibala bula koda taluma. Ambiasinana, kumbemba jeli musaninja lekelu. Ambiasinana. The Foolish One said, "I'm so sorry, but I need to borrow. If you can lend me, I need to borrow $1. Well, the man thought for a moment, and $1 was not much to pay to rid himself of the Foolish One. But the man wasn't wealthy. He needed his money. So he looked at the Foolish One and he said, "Listen, I'm going to lend you $1, but please, I want you to come back and I want you to drop it in my mail slot in 3 days. I need it back in 3 days. Can you promise me that?" The Foolish One said, "Yes, of course. I can promise you that. I will bring your money back in 3 days." So the man handed the Foolish One $1, and the Foolish One left his porch. Well, 3 days passed, and the Foolish One didn't return. So the man was forced to go knock on the door of the Foolish One to retrieve his money. When the Foolish One opened the door, the man looked at him and he said, "You promised me you would be back in 3 days, but you didn't return." The Foolish One said, I'm so sorry. I meant to return, but there was a miracle that happened." And the man said, "A miracle? What do you mean?" And the Foolish One said, "Your money gave birth." The man, he stood there for a moment trying to think, what was the Foolish One talking about? And then the Foolish One handed the man 5 $1 bills. The man smiled and he looked at the Foolish One. He said, "Oh, yes, my money is known for being very fertile." Yeah, Jalia, aleleka Jaliada. So the man took the $5 and he walked away smiling. But a few days later, the Foolish One was knocking at his door again. When the man opened the door, he looked around. He didn't see anyone looking because obviously he didn't want to be seen with a fool. And he said, "What are you here for now? What do you want?" And the Foolish One said, "I'm so sorry, but you helped me last time. May I borrow $10? The man, he thought about what had happened previously and he said, "Okay, but you need to bring this money back in 3 days. I need my money." So the Foolish One said, "Of course, I promise I will bring it back in 3 days." So the man gave him $10. Well, 3 days passed, and the foolish one did not return. So the man was forced to go knock on the door of the foolish one. And when the foolish one opened the door, the man, he was a little miffed. He was a little angry. He said, "Why did you not return with my money?" And the foolish one said, "I don't know what is going on." "Another miracle. Your money gave birth again." And the foolish one handed the man $20. He had only borrowed 10, but he handed the man $20. The man took the money, smiled, and he said, "I figured this type of thing might happen, and I was on the watch for it. Thank you so much for watching over my money while it gave birth." Yeah, Chalia, Aleleka Chalia da. Ambiasinana, Kumbembajali, Musaninjalekelu, Ambiasinana. Well, the man was on the lookout for the foolish one, but he didn't return to his home, not for a long while. And when he did, the man was ready. The man opened the door when the foolish one knocked at the door, and he said, "How much do you want to borrow today?" The foolish one said, "Oh, you are so generous, you are so kind. You have helped me in the past, and I hate to ask you again, but may I borrow $100? Now, the man was taken aback, but he thought about it. He remembered what had happened before. So he said, "Listen, $100 is a lot of money, and I need you to promise me that you will return in 3 days with this money." The foolish one said, "Yes, I promise. I will keep this promise this time. Yes, I will." So the man, he handed the foolish one $100. 3 days passed. You know the pattern here. The foolish one did not return, so the man was forced to go knock on the door of the foolish one. And when the foolish one opened the door, he was standing there in tears, crying. The man looked at him and he said, "You're crying because you had promised me something that you did not follow through on. You did not bring me my money like you had promised. Is that why you are crying?" And the foolish one said, "No, that is not why I'm crying. I'm crying, and I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I am crying because last night your money died." The man said, "Wait a minute. What do you mean my money died?" The man was incredulous. He said, "I am not the fool. I am not a foolish person. I know money cannot die." The foolish one said, "Well, if money can give birth, then why do you think it cannot die?" Yeah, Chalia, Aleleka Chalia da. You have to be careful, people, because sometimes when you try to fool others, you only end up fooling yourself. Thank you for allowing me to share that story. I enjoy storytelling so much. Here in Long Beach, I visit a lot of schools and other organizations sharing the ancient wisdom of West Africa that we call Jalia. If you want to know a little more about the craft, you can go to my website, babathestoryteller.com, and there's quite a bit of information there. But before we go, and I want to play you one more song before we go. Before we go, I really want to acknowledge Downtown Long Beach Alliance, because it's not often that organizations put their hearts in front of their mission statements, and Downtown Long Beach Association has, with acknowledging the need for equity and acknowledging the need for diversity, and not only acknowledging it, but putting their energy and their resources behind it by hosting resources for African Americans and programs. I just wanted to shout out because sometimes I think we always look for what's going wrong in our communities when we should be celebrating what's going right. Now, before I play the song, before I play out, let me also announce one more time, yours truly, Baba the Storyteller, your resident griot here in Long Beach, is going to be Master of Ceremonies for the Aquarium of the Pacific's virtual African American Festival. Now, that festival has been going on for 19 years, like I said earlier. In fact, I was one of the early people to form the very first festival. There will be drumming and singing and dancing and hip hop and Mardi Gras, and it displays and exhibits, yes, virtually, but we're still carrying on this 19-year tradition of this African American festival. And if you can, I would love for all of you to be there. February the 27th, from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. We'll provide you with links, don't worry. But I want to make sure that everyone shows up and we celebrate the diversity that we have here in this city. Because surely, even in this time of everything going in the direction of a pandemic and people experiencing what they're experiencing, we can still find time to come together, acknowledge one another, and celebrate. So let me play you a song as we go out. Nadiara mugomina kute kuyarila na kuyara mugomina jumba diarira naro niara mugomina jelia diara papala. There was once a young woman. She wasn't like any of the other young women. No, she was very different. You see, she loved to walk around a lake near her home. And when she would walk around this lake, what she enjoyed doing more than anything was, well, skipping stones. She wasn't the type to play with dolls or dress up or any of the other things many of the other girls like to do. No, she loved skipping stones. So one day, she's walking down by the lake, skipping stones, walking and skipping and walking, when she hears something, a voice. It yells out, "Help me, help me." She looks in every direction, but she doesn't see anyone. She continues walking and skipping stones and walking and skipping stones, and the voice keeps returning. So finally, she looks down by her feet and she sees a frog. She picks the frog up, holds it in her hands. Okay, you're not going to believe this. But the frog speaks. The frog talks to her. The frog says, "I'm not really a frog." The frog says, "I'm a handsome prince. And if you kiss me, I will once again be a handsome prince." The girl takes the frog and she puts it in a satchel that she's carrying. And she continues walking around, skipping stones and walking. And the frog is jumping around in the backpack, yelling out, "Didn't you hear what I say? Did you hear what I said? I'm not really a frog, I'm a handsome prince. Let me out of the bag. If you kiss me, I will be a handsome prince once again." Nadiara mogomina kude kuyarila. Nakuyara mogomina jumbadiarira naroniara mogomina jelia diara budula. Now the frog is jumping around so violently in the backpack that finally the young woman has to stop. She takes the frog out of the backpack, and now the frog is miffed. The frog is angry. She's holding the frog in her hand, and the frog says to her, as she's holding it in her hand, the frog says, "Didn't you hear what I said to you? I told you I'm not really a frog. I'm a handsome prince. And if you kiss me, I will be a handsome prince once again." Well, the young woman holding the frog, she looks at it and she tells it, "I heard every single word that you said, but I thought it would be so much cooler to have a talking frog than a handsome prince." And she put it back in her backpack, kept walking and skipping, skipping and walking, skipping stones and walking, walking and skipping stones. Kumate kuna keba mikono, kumate fora ingano. Kumate kuna keba mikono, kumate fora ingano. Bulo kumate keba mikono, kumate fora wo keba yere. Ye e mora marile, ini bulura jeliala, mande sila la binima. I'll see you all on February 27th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Aquarium Pacific's virtual African American Festival online live streaming.